The World Bank approves the upcoming seizures of white-owned properties by South Africa's black majority government. One America's Kristian Rouz has this report.
A major international lender, the World Bank, endorses South Africa's looming land reform, which focuses on the expropriation of white-owned properties without compensation. In its new report, the World Bank said the land grabs contemplated by South Africa's black majority government would promote inclusiveness and equality.
When you have high inequality, and we call this report an incomplete transition because there's so much inequality that is the legacy of this country, this inequality puts pressure on the budget because people want redistribution.
The World Bank said high unemployment, poverty and inequality are hindering South Africa's economic and political development. This comes as the nation's ruling party, the African National Congress or the ANC, has been mired in corruption, mismanagement and leftist experiments since taking power back in 1994. However, the World Bank blamed the apartheid system, which ended around 24 years ago, for the nation's present-day woes.
You had a former president saying, well, all the problems in the country started when my forefathers arrived. You have the current president that said at a rally for the election, you have to go and vote, otherwise the Boere are going to oppress you again.
Critics point out the upcoming ANC land reform is based off the politicized and racialized perception of the land issue, as the black majority government is explicitly targeting the white South Africans. The Afrikaner resistance movement has pledged to defend their property rights, while international investors say the erosion of the institution of private property could dampen South Africa's economic potential. Yet, the World Bank said land redistribution would strengthen the asset base of the poor, adding the reform would somehow increase property security.
What our panel found is that there have been terrible failures in redistribution and restitution, and those need to be put right. But the biggest problem that we found is that people are being dispossessed right now.
The World Bank's controversial findings are explained by a recent change in methodology used in the lender's country reports. Previously, the World Bank used to prepare all its country recommendations in Washington, based on the experience of the world's most advanced economies, as well as the principles of open market, free trade and individual rights and freedoms. However, after accusations of lack of flexibility, the World Bank started working in partnership with the country in question, resulting in its endorsement of the ANC view of the land reform.
I don't believe that expropriation without compensation would solve their problems, and therefore we would like to see a process that is appropriate, in which a process that isn't flawed in the first place, but in the second place, a process that isn't preempted to have a particular outcome, and thirdly, a process that involves and includes the vast majority of people in this country.
The Afrikaner resistance movement and rights groups are now saying the ANC is conducting the policy of white genocide through economic and political means. In the wake of the land reform debate, they say the measure is depriving them of their livelihood, and that's exactly the reform the World Bank is endorsing.
Victory will only be victory if the land is restored in the hands of rightful owners. And rightful owners, unashamedly, is black people. No white person is a rightful owner of the land here in South Africa.
While some Afrikaners are preparing to defend their farms with some help coming from Israel, others are seeking asylum in Australia and other countries as victims of white genocide. Yet, the international community remains silent on South Africa's unraveling humanitarian catastrophe. Kristian Rouz, One American News.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.